They actually did the
Like, you want to take that away from
market
me?
days up there. Have you ever been to a market
I'm
day?
5 years old.
Yeah.
What's
They
that?
did it, that's when they did it in the last two seasons, last two of them.
Well, they're-
All right, everyone, let's
Cool.
get started. Call this meeting to order. We are right on time at 6 p.m. Welcome back. I don't know about you, but I can't believe it's 2024. Logging into work this week was a blur. I can't even believe that I'm sitting here and that it's Wednesday. So I hope everyone had a great holiday and got to spend it with people that they love and that you're as excited for September as I am. Let's get a roll call, please.
Commissioner Slaughter,
Here.
Commissioner Schultz,
Present.
Commissioner Shaling,
Present.
Commissioner Hudson,
Present.
Commissioner Jones,
Present.
Commissioner Coleman, Commissioner Shrimp. Here. Commissioner Siebert, Council Liaison Garitano, and myself. Thank you.
Next, we just need approval for our November meeting minutes. Do I have a motion for approval? Would anyone have any questions or anything on them?
I make the.
With the first, with the second? Ms. Schultz with the second, all in favor? Yes,
Yeah.
aye. Perfect, thank you. Public comment, do we have anyone on Zoom? Empty gallery, we haven't done anything controversial yet. Yeah, the coffee, everyone, the coffee. Great, let's get into the agenda. Venue location,
Yes, ma'am. Chairs and members of the commission, welcome tonight. We're glad you're here. And obviously, as we all came in, we wished each other a happy new year, but Department of Homes and Parks, Police Department, commission members, happy new year. And if you follow any of our city administrator reports, we usually post them as part of the council packets. In the latest one, last Friday, I noted that the event is only about 9 months away. So it's coming around the corner quicker than probably we imagined, but we'll be prepared as always. So thank you for your support. Obviously, the key issue that we're looking at this year, as in past years, unfortunately, is the venue location. And has been described to each of you, there is a legitimate development proposal that is being considered and on the property that we've used for the past several years. The development proposal has gone through on the city council. We've done a meeting before our architectural review board. And we have several other meetings that are planned in the future, but all intents and purposes and all signs seem to indicate that there'll be something starting there sometime this summer or early fall. Obviously, we've got a plan accordingly, even if something were to change. At our last meeting, we spent a great deal of the time that we were together talking about potential venue locations, which included several that were, for the most part, set aside because of just considerations relating to ease of access, the knowledge of the site, et cetera, et cetera. And we ended up with, generally speaking, the community college, Wildwood Family YMCA site, including Word and City Hall. Ultimately, the direction from the commission was to focus on the community college, Wildwood Family YMCA site, City Hall. And for the most part, that that's our conversation with the facilities director for the community college district and the president of the Wildwood campus, and they graciously agreed to allow us to use the site for that day. That includes any of the parking necessary, but not interior of the building, which is obviously fine. Kind of bring everything we need with us, so to speak. I've not contacted the Wildwood Family YMCA yet because I just received that authorization today. It was this afternoon from community college. So what that entails is we have the 5-acre field immediately south of the YMCA for our use, along with the adjoining parking lots that are on the opposite side of Recreation Drive. As noted in the memorandum, without having that information at hand when we prepare the agenda item for tonight's discussion, we are still looking at City Hall and the area around City Hall. And I think from a perspective of the department, we'll continue to always have that as plan B, safety net, or that open tonight, something that we can depend on because we control all aspects of it. The fly in the ointment with the community college was that they do not allow alcohol on campus, but they are going to amend their policy to accommodate the city of Wildwood. I think that was largely due to the fact that I told them that the county police will be there to make sure it's safe and everyone acts appropriately. And that's the case. So I'll contact, I should say we will contact the Wildwood Family YMCA starting tomorrow, given the thumbs up from the community college. But we also feel like, again, it's essential that we continue to look at City Hall and consider all options. To that end, I contacted the executive director of Anthology, the senior care facility on Plaza Drive. I've not talked to her. I left a message for her to give a call to the department. And the idea there is just to ensure that if we do use any portion of the area around the Anthology, they know what we're thinking, and we could certainly take into account any of their concerns and questions as we proceed forward. So I don't have everything finalized yet. Stacy, Chris, and I will have all of that completed by our next meeting in February. To date, the 2 locations that were identified by the commission, we seem to be heading in a positive direction. Questions from the commission members or chairs? Stacy, Luis, and I are available.
I had a question. So I obviously know when we used Ed's property was, I don't know, was there like a contractual obligation? Like was that you're obviously still planning on, pursuing Plan B at City Hall. Is that because of a concern that we would lose the space? And if so, is there a contractual component to that with YMCA and the community college?
Well, there is a use agreement that must be signed between the city and the community college. I will make the assumption that it would be the same from the Wildwood Family YMCA or the parent organization, generally the YMCA of St. Louis. And there may be components of that agreement that we can't comply with. So until those are in hand and the one from the community college is being worked on by the legal department, I don't want to put all of our eggs in one basket.
Totally, makes sense.
So from that perspective, we'll still keep looking at City Hall in the general vicinity until told differently by.
Second question is, with their usage agreement, are we providing sponsorship delivery? Because they're obviously typically a sponsor. And so are we still anticipating that they sponsor? Or are we going to give them the deliverables that they would receive as an in-kind sponsor? Or just thinking as we are budgeting and planning for sponsorship, just like capturing that missing rev?
I'll have to defer to Chris on the amount that the community college provided in 2023. But in the instance of Ed Cohn, who is part owner of B&B Theater, we gave them income sponsorship for the use of the field in the past few years. And I think we had them at $1,000 sponsorship. So.
Awesome.
Community college was 500
Okay,
and the YMCA was 150.
so it's not a huge chunk of the land is worth quite a bit more, so awesome.
Yes, having a venue. Now, if by some miracle, lighting candles at mass every Sunday, Village Green Project, we open bids from tomorrow. We had a substantial amount of interest from the contracting community, which is usually a good sign. But in the bid specifications, we talked about being complete by September 1st. Not gotten a pushback from anyone yet,
Be
but
still my heart, that's.
but there's a lot of variables in that, and the big one is just weather. Our process, it takes a while, as Mr. Garitano will attest to. Once the bids are open and the bid information is presented to council committee, it needs then to go to city council. Usually a couple of meetings there, and there's the pre-construction, and then there's the orders to proceed, there's mobilization. Whether those are rich in the works, it could all be on, but like I say, planning for City Hall also is kind of planning for the Village Green on that outside chance.
Joe, I have a question. I remember when we've had a couple of barbecue bashes there, it was a great turnout. I think I remember there might have been parking problems. Didn't we have buses too and shuttles like to the Westridge business park or something? I can't remember.
We did a shuttle, had shuttle buses for the barbecue bash. Obviously, everybody wants to try to avoid that. The difference here is, and I think I may have mentioned, and if I didn't, I apologize. The field that we've used next to the theater is 2.5 acres in size, and we didn't use the entirety of it, so to speak. We have 5+ acres or double the size. The other thing is much of the barbecue bash spread out into the available parking. We
Oh,
don't need
you're right.
that because
Okay.
we have double the size area we typically have for the event. So I'm thinking between community colleges, let's say 800+ spaces. And any workaround we can do with the YMCA. We obviously have available, I think we'll have parking for the majority of it. I can't guarantee you for the concert at night or the opening ceremony,
Gotcha.
those things, but we're in a little better shape than the barbecue bash because yes, shuttle buses, they're expensive. People don't like them.
They don't like them.
And I think the department would like to avoid them if we can at all costs.
I noticed Gina's name's on the email, so she's been around for a while, so she's a good resource there. I didn't know if there's a lot of people still around that were there before.
She is the only one
That's left.
the two presidents that were there during that span of time with the barbecue bash. So, yeah, but Gina is that consistent contact. That's who I started with.
Yeah.
She immediately forwarded it on, and then I was surprised the president of the campus jumped in right away.
Oh, good.
So he seems to be all on.
Have a comment there. So Joe, thank you for that update regarding the checking in with the folks at it's called the Plaza now?
Anthology.
Yeah, they changed their name. They have new on social media. I think it's called the Plaza at Wildwood now.
Oh, okay.
Were they bought out or just changed their name?
I see familiar faces in the pictures, so, but their social media is updated now. So we probably may still be hearing about it. Maybe they're gonna change their sign. I think it's called the
I
Plaza.
hope they come to get an authorization to change their sign.
Yeah, that's your heads up. So I think it's called the Plaza at Wildwood now.
Yep.
So, is that right? Yeah, the Plaza at Wildwood Senior Living. So, I think that's a great idea to check on that. And I do think that we're gonna ultimately come down to the decision of whether it is over at the college or at City Hall. And if you are interested just in my thoughts or my opinion, where we are at this point, if you want to know. You actually raised a really good question, Holly, because I remember the barbecue bash was here in town center. And the year it moved over to the college, the feedback was not as good as it was in years before. And that was just a physical move. The barbecue event was still pretty much the same. The buses were an issue. But just the fact that it moved to a
Changed.
different location. And that's what I think about too, is that for folks that live in Wildwood are so used to coming to the town center, hence why we call it town center, to come to this place. And so I think what I'm hoping for is that, you know, their feedback is positive regarding what we're trying to do, but if you're rewind the clock back, well, it's gotta be 5-10 years ago. Celebrate Wildwood took place right where that area of the
Parking lot,
the plaza.
yeah.
right
plaza.
there,
Mhm.
where the tree is now.
Mhm.
All the way down. And so it was all around there. And I think we even had used the top level of the garage. I remember the
We
food
did.
tent was at the top
Mhm,
level of the
mhm.
garage. And so my thinking is that, you know, my preference, at least what I know today, is the more we can keep it to where it's always been. No, and that actually was nice. The stage was right up along the fence that was along 100, so people would see it when they drove by. And then parking, I mean, other than the top level now being available, the bottom level is still available. You have all the parking along Main Street. You have the parking at the new community church, which they're very gracious to offer us. You know, people do park over at Dearborn's, even though I think they're not too thrilled about the spots being taken. But, you know, it's pretty much parking that I think we manage really well. But I know that one big question that has to be addressed is you still have to have that emergency access to the plaza. And so, you know, we added over a couple of days ago, it's like maybe that emergency access can still be met via Main Street along the side street here if the emergency service folks are satisfied with entering the building through that. Maybe I think there's a rear entrance there. So if that
Certainly is.
works out, or they have so much, maybe that's an option for us to definitely keep in mind as we weigh it out, because I think that's my concern is just taking it out of the town center. Even though the space is there, I still have questions around the parking or just the fact that it's moved to a different location. And then, of course, we have the question about the fireworks. So I don't think that's a problem over at the college because they have a lot of space there. But we do have the Village Green area there, that's possible. So I'm still kind of right now hoping that maybe the town center works out, only because we know we've done it before. It's just that we moved out of that space once the anthology building went up, so.
Would your, sorry,
Yeah, so we just would have to see how that works, but those drawings are already there. It's a matter of seeing how they move around.
so your like hope would be to do it at town center, even if the Village Green is not ready?
Well, I think right now, the issue I think with the Village Green is we did have about 2 years ago, maybe, a plan that we were going to utilize the Village Green for, I think at the time it was the Boy Scouts, and some other activities. But it's still a little bit out of sight because we just don't have that direct road front in front of it. I think that would be a big hurdle for us. You almost kind of have to zigzag your way to get to the Village Green now by going up the driveway here at City Hall, I think. Unless something could be figured out where we can extend a portion of Main Street for, you know, several feet to get there, to at least be able to see it, because otherwise I think it's hard for people. It's kind of tucked up there right now, you know. That's my only concern. I mean, the plan we did have a few years ago had some activities there, but even then I was still always a little concerned that they would almost be hidden and they wouldn't get the attention because everyone would just kind of stay where the crowd is.
What's the current expectation for completion on the I'm trying not to call it apartment complexes, the apartment complexes that are going in Ed's new project?
Under the best case scenario, grading would start sometime this summer.
So hypothetically, it could be a gravel pit.
My estimation would be as the rough grading would proceed, and then from that point forward, it's not a usable site other than construction. Again, as I say, projects have had, particularly on that side, a lot of twists and turns. If it comes available, I think it ends all the discussion,
Yeah.
but
Oh, I just more meant from a like, you know, thinking about all the places, like if we're still talking about maybe making town hall work, I think the difference between having city hall work where I don't know that I love the idea of inviting people to our flagship event and then have it, but like, don't look over here. Because obviously it'll, you know, I know that our P and Z and everything requires it all to be covered, but at the end of the day, it's still a construction site and there's still bobcats everywhere, so I don't know that I feel like I would rather show another beautiful side of our city and our thriving community college and our, you know, I'd rather show that beautiful and complete because they're working on their great project versus like construction. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think with all the booths and everything, we could line the booths. I mean, if we really want to use that whole street, we could line booths up. We could work around that. But I think that by planning it here, we have several options. Like, it's not like, oh, Village Green open, but we've been planning it out there and now we got to move everybody here kind of thing. It's like, we're all here. It's just, are we gonna be at Village Green? Are we gonna be on Main Street? Are we gonna be in the apartment area? It gives us 3 options, really.
for the most part, they're all centrally located around City Hall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
hub. And from a parade standpoint, staying closer to City
So
Hall
true.
is always a positive.
Yeah,
Otherwise, we have to figure out the logistics of ending the parade here, getting everybody over to the community college and ample time so they can participate in the opening ceremony.
I also think this year, so it will start be grading. I guarantee you the next year it will be even have more stuff. It will not be done by the next year. I don't believe it would be done, even if they started
Right.
grading in September or, you know, this August. I do not believe that the buildings will be done in a year.
It's a long project.
So it's gonna be there anyway,
It's, okay, yep.
so.
So what I feel like we've kind of given you a lot. So what group, what are the next steps that we want to give the city? Because obviously kind of, we started with there's obviously some contracting and going on with the YMCA and the community college. Should we let them keep going with that while simultaneously planning here at the city hall and then make a decision officially when we get down the road? Or what are the next steps that we want to give the city?
You have to play both.
That's
I
kind of
think
my
so
thought,
too.
Yeah.
Is that, do you
Just
feel
to cover
comfortable with that,
cover
city
yourself.
folks? Or do you feel like, do you need more? I don't want to leave you out on the limb, not with a clearance.
From the department's perspective, Madam Chair, what I would like to do is continue to pull that thread relative to the YMCA community college area. At least make sure that both components are workable and both entities want the event there. We know one does. I don't know about the other. I would like to continue engaging the senior care facility to ensure that they understand. And then in conjunction with that engagement, talk to Chief Kraus over at Metro West. Start there. I'm sure I'll be passed on to somebody that manages their EMS, but just to make sure, as Mr. Garitano mentioned, that if we do close certain accesses, that the one we leave is the one that works, and they have no, and we have no qualms about impacting an emergency situation. So I'd like to keep working on both, and and hopefully by February, when we have our meeting, we can come back and tell you, this is gonna work better than that.
Great.
And make the decision a little easier for you all.
Thank you for simultaneously planning 2 different events. Thank you.
I just think it's smart right now.
I agree.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
just too many
agree.
variables.
Anything else on event location before we move on to new revenue sources, which is a very exciting bullet point?
Start with something very positive. As you all know, last year was a record year for the commission in raising funds. We actually exceeded our goal by approximately $2,200. So congratulations, good job. Expect each to save this year from you. So what the department did, Stacy, Chris, and I is try to offset what we believe will be happening relative to our sponsors. And I've mentioned this on a couple of occasions. When we had those kind of landmark anniversaries, the 10-year, the 15-year, the 20-year, we always saw a drop in sponsorships that immediate year that followed. I think it's natural. People said, well, I gave so much last year, you know, I just don't want to do it this year, or I'll give something, but not as much. So the intent tonight was to kind of introduce some other options, maybe to spice in the pot, so to speak, and get those sponsors to say, yeah, this is better than last year. I want to participate, and maybe participate at even a greater level. And so there are a group of approaches. The first is we've always used sponsorship banners, and that's been kind of the bread and butter of our sponsorship effort. And we always seem to be successful. The thought was, instead of just doing banners on Taylor Road and Main Street, if a business does provide sponsorship, we offer banners at their location of business as well. For example, like 3 French Hens, with our streetscape, there's ample street lights out in front of their business. We could easily add banners out there and just not only give them exposure here in the core area of downtown, but also as people drive by on Manchester Road or go to shop there, obviously know there's their sponsorship and you get a little bit more promotions. The second one was included in the Wildwood Gazette, which you know is sent to all households about 2 weeks in advance of the Celebrate Wildwood event. A short biography of each business that's participating as a sponsor. We haven't done that. So we could easily just say, here's what their main purview is. Here's the services they provide. Here's how you find out about them, whether it's a website, a phone number, both, or what else. But that's 13,000 plus gazettes that are mailed to each household in Wildwood. And so from a perspective, maybe that's a great way to add sponsors and also generate more revenue. Also, we've never done this, but others do, and that's just going to some of the larger corporations in the St. Louis region and asking them for sponsorships. And I use AB InBev, which you see at almost every event, and they used to be a major underwriter of the barbecue bash for obvious reasons. But certainly, the Pond Athletic Association has a relationship with InBev, AB, and so from that perspective, the thought was, what can it hurt? All I can say is, sorry, we're not interested, but at least if we even get 1 or 2, it would be a positive approach. The fourth is to place more information about the participating businesses sponsoring the event, or individuals that are sponsoring the event, in our new resident packet. Some already do that. They provide their standard coupon for small percentage off of service or product. But we just put a whole thing in there that basically from like August, September, and even in maybe October and November throughout the remainder of the year, just complimenting them for their participation and giving information about them as part of that. We do a little over 100 of those every month. That's how much turnover there is. So even in a 4-month span, it's at least 400 to 500 people, households that are going to get information that would not normally be able to them about the business community and the sponsors. The other is offer a for-charge version of the scavenger hunt and kind of up the ante on the sizes, so to speak. So a little bit more money into it, but also charge for it. And obviously, make sure that what we charge exceeds what we spend. That's the goal of the department here. But obviously the scavenger hunt last year, we had 150. Yeah. So, and it was free to participate and everyone got a T-shirt and one of our little nylon ripstop bags. So this is just a thought, maybe it's just $25 and we do a little bit different approach to it. Again, these are thoughts, not suggestions all the time. The other is just to eliminate the sponsorship option for subdivisions. We have zero interest. I think it just clutters the page, and particularly if it's not successful, we need to look at different approaches. And so that was one just there. Eliminating the option also means that if a subdivision is interested in sponsorship, which doesn't mean we won't contact them, there is already a choice for them. And then finally, the proverbial, let's reduce expenditures, so at least what revenue we get adds to our goal of $30,000. I'm sure there's ways to do that. We always are looking for those ways. But as you know, the last couple of years have been pretty volatile relative to charges and costs due to inflation. And even though inflation may be, it doesn't seem like a lot of the businesses are kind of following suit and reducing their cost. The costs have stayed or even increased again. Time. We're fortunate, a lot of the people we work with, like Juggling Jeff, the clowns, the face painters, they're holding their prices again this year as they was last year. So that's a positive. So you can't count on that. Once we're seeing the greatest increases are the electricity, stage, those kind of infrastructure things. And I think they're just facing increasing costs from there. So it's just the cycle. So those are the suggestions Stacy, Chris, and I came up with. Obviously, that's not the universe of them. Obviously, some of them may not suit the commission members from their. They're there to kind of start discussion and add to them, and then delete them. But whatever we end up choosing, those are the things we'll start with almost immediately. Thank you.
So I had two thoughts. One, I love the idea of adding a charge to the scavenger hunt. And I think even offering, I think there are some like physical businesses that would enjoy being a landmark on the spot. So I think like Three French Hens, like saying, you know, for an inclusion or an additional sponsorship, you could be a stop on like, isn't that the goal, to get people in the door of their business? So to be able to, you know, I think that is a really great option. Obviously, not all of our sponsors are physical. We have lots of really awesome realtors who sponsor us who work out of the comfort of their home. Very jealous of all of you.
Something, can we send them your way?
Yeah.
We'll have Vern answer the.
Oh, no.
With the stamp, I mean, that could be really fun. So I love the idea of scavenger hunt. My other thought was, I know that last year we worked with a social media marketing team and we did some sponsored posts. Businesses will pay big bucks for sponsored posts. And so the idea of, you know, we're doing a sponsored post the week of, and we're highlighting these sponsors, again, additional, like if you want a sponsored post, whomever, Fox Company Yoga, that's X amount of dollars, obviously covering the cost, but they love it. And candidly, non-revenue driving pages get more, they just speak to the algorithm. I work for a nonprofit and our sponsors love it because we reach way more because of our non-business affiliation. So it makes Meta happy. So just a thought. Karen?
I don't want to charge for there's too many young families that came up and I just
Yeah,
thought
they really liked it.
they loved it. I think if we put a charge on it, I think it will take it away from the fun part of it and make it more of a competitive thing. I don't know.
A charge for what?
The scavenger.
The scavenger.
No, I think the thought was to make the charge, like to make the sponsors pay a charge, because all sponsors were on, if you sponsored, your name was on the back of. the
Yeah, but I
scavenger
thought you also said, I thought your nominal, did you also?
$25 fee to.
Yeah.
To
I was-
do it.
Yeah.
Good. I'm so glad you're listening.
So here's
That was, I just don't want, I think okay.
Yeah.
So here's the concept, and obviously commission controls the concept, and that's fine. the idea is there would be 2 scavenger hunts. The floor charge to generate additional revenue for those that obviously they want something more than what we give, a t-shirt and a ripstop nylon bag. And then there would be the regular one, or that's a no charge. The incentive to participate in the charge is it's a reasonable fee, but what you receive.
It's a better
economies of
price.
Scale is much greater, and the incentive to participate. But certainly, we don't want to degrade the existing scavenger hunt.
That's
The
what I
commission has
was.
worked hard to make it what the fun event it is and what people like. So again, these are here just as
Yeah.
discussion points.
I
I
would,
just thought the kids loved it, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I agree. I like the idea, but I think that in this, for the sake of being equitable and community oriented, I don't love that. Way to go, team. I miss that.
Well, I have a thought. I mean, I didn't like the $25, but we could still just do one and maybe just charge $5. And then the giveaways are sponsored by, because a lot of them were families, but they were like outdoorsy families, like hiking and stuff. Have somebody, a sponsor of like an outdoor place, give them a $25 gift card or something like that. Or we don't spend money on the gifts, but I don't know.
I do like the idea of the gifts being in kind and really try, I mean, obviously last year the t-shirts were so great. It's one of my favorite shirts. So I like the idea of them being like, again, Wildwood
too.
branded, but also going out and maybe for our larger, like our big Kahuna prize, trying to get things that are more in kind so that again, it reduces the revenue on our side. I really think that adding what I would call, I don't know, like add-ons for sponsors, like a bit, it's so hard because Kristen, you worked so hard last year on paring down our very, very extensive sponsorship list. So I don't want to go backwards because I think some of the reason why we were so successful last year is because it was so easy and approachable. But I do like the idea of offering a choose your own adventure, because I think of like, just because he's a friend of mine, I think of like Tim at Fox Company Yoga, like the idea of being able to be a stop on the like scavenger hunt, like I know that he would, that would be a more valuable purchase for him than a booth spot, you know what I mean? Like, so just thinking of like, you know, when there's a ton of booths and there's a ton of gyms, like that's not helpful, but people coming to a studio that, so I kind of want, I don't know, and it feels.
Maybe the extra bonus is you get to pick. You can either have an extra banner hung outside your business, or you could have the stop, like they can choose, but they're all the same. You know, there's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
3 choices for that one level.
Does that sound like just a heap of things to keep track of for you guys?
I think what we had kind of talked about is we need to update our whole sponsorship system. Yeah, we did.
Levels.
The form is kind of, I think, antiquated. I think people would rather probably go online and do. And so we've kind of talked about, you know, seeing about revamping that sponsorship process for the sponsors. Because it is kind of antiquated with the little form, you know, and then
Yeah.
putting in your check and, you know. So there's something we could do online. I mean, we have Rec Desk that we use. You know, it could be a checkbox item. I want to choose this. I want to choose this. I
Yeah.
want to choose this. You know, that
Cause I think that's a great idea, Leslie. I think the idea of, cause it's, you know, everybody's business model is different. And so again, you don't want someone showing up to your house, but the idea of having like a sponsored post might be valuable to you, especially because it would be zip code relational. So Jotform, just if you haven't ever used Jotform, it's great for that.
So it's almost a recipe list. There's a base level of sponsorship. Regardless, let's say it's $200. We have all these checkoff boxes that have additional things.
That's what,
So, I'm sorry.
I think there's 2 ways. I think like, let's go baseline, you're a baseline
Yeah.
level 1 sponsor. You just get a booth. Level 2, that's where you get to choose. You definitely get a booth and you get one of these 3 things. If you're this top tier, you can pick 3 things, but
Right.
I think the idea of.
Okay.
And 1, I think that also will help us diversify our revenue, because I think we will see folks who typically hover at that, I just want a booth, see the options up above and be like, well, you know, $500 never felt worth it to me, but $500 and I get X experience that feels valuable to me. And I think we would, when we're nailing down what those activations would be, a lot of your business owners, I would like to know like what actually is an activation to you.
Does
and what-
anybody ever survey these people?
That's
Like,
great.
do you ever send out and be like, hey, thanks for being a sponsor? Is there, you know, what would make your experience better next year? What didn't you like? What did you like? You know, just to get feedback
What would
from the
you
whole
pay for?
experience.
What would you like to see? What is your dream
Right.
sponsorship?
Yeah.
Or in the business of
What
making
did we do well?
wishes?
What didn't we? Just to learn feedback for the whole thing.
Some of the sponsors, sorry, Mr. Garitano,
You can go ahead, I'll go after you.
it only take, some of the sponsors wanted boosts and we sent the survey to all vendors. So some got it, but not all.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm on that list and I received the survey. And I think that for someone that's starting a business, the sponsorship opportunity that was presented was a real good one. I liked it. I think, you know, for folks that are starting off, you know, they may not be able to afford higher sponsorship package, so it allowed folks that, you know, would be probably priced out to get their name on a shared banner with other folks and to have a booth, which is good because when you're trying to start a business in Wildwood, that's a real good place, and you know, you start to feel like you're part of the community. So
So I think we all agree that, to your point, it's always gonna be important to keep that $150, that super low equitable, everyone can get in, fresh business, like that always feels like the baseline, that whatever we grow to, whatever we add to, we never wanna lose that.
I think that's a good stepping stone because ultimately, you know, a new business is pretty good to be successful and to become more successful. They'll have more money in future years. And so they'll want to have a bigger presence in the community. And so I think they will want to step up their sponsorship to the next level up. But I think that entry level is really key there. And there might be incentives like, you know, the other option, you know,
Yeah.
other benefits that you get sponsoring at higher levels. That'll hopefully get people to move along. It's kind of similar to like, you know, when you're dealing with a volunteer, like a campaign, you know, donation type of like when, you know, you raise money for a charity or something like that, because sometimes, you know, like, for example, like I'm trying to think of, you know, Alzheimer's or something like that, you know, it's like you need to get that entry level. And then hopefully there's, you know, grow to the next level and so forth. I think it's a good step, and you guys did a really good job.
Agreed.
I loved it. It was, I think the thing that stood out the most, and I know we're kind of going into the feedback, but the fact that they just came around checking, you know, like, do you need anything? You know, just making sure we're comfortable and, you know, that was awesome. And the survey was out like the next day or two, so that was awesome.
So sounds like the including in the Gazette, we feel excited about that. The banner options, I think, is a great place to put on our, you know, list of additional incentives. I love the idea of reaching out to the larger greater St. Louis businesses. Again, the only thing they can say is no. Anyone have any thoughts on those? Guys, those three things? Want to make sure I cover all your things, Joe. New resident packet, I love that idea. Did anyone have any thoughts or feedback? I think that's a really, that's how I found my window guy. So thanks for the resident packet. Scavenger hunt, we talked about, sponsorship, we talked to eliminate the subdivision, love that. And then I think we're all in on reducing our cost expenditures where we can. Do you feel like you guys have a good sense of what you need?
So, not talking with Stacy or Krista, but from the sponsorship standpoint, we'll have updated form available that's less, let's say, antiquated. And do you want us to do that checkoff kind of thing? Here's the, but if you pay this, you get this. If you pay this, you get that. You want something like that?
I think that's kind of what we're thinking. I
Yeah.
think, to Joe's point, I think it's really important to have that baseline where it's just you get the booth. No need to check, you're in, and then having those additional tiered options with, cost associations with all those additional, add-ons, whether they, whatever that means.
We'll see what we can come up with. I'll beg for your patience that we may miss the mark on a few of the items, but we'll do our best to capture what you just said. And then we can take it from there, hopefully the February meeting.
Parade components. Is this where you tell us we get extra big golf carts, huge wheels?
Well, we did have the four-seaters. I don't know how those worked out. And we also did have a cart that stopped in the middle of the parade and had to be pushed, so. Big
Thought that
bag,
was ours.
but we're working on the carts already, and Chris will update you on that, but that's one of the first things we do now, because they're just universally loved by everybody that gets one, so we understand. More so tonight, is just, we talk about parade theme. Excuse me, the event theme and the parade sub-theme. And as noted in the memorandum, typically we can start tonight with you providing ideas and thoughts. Or in the past, we've given you the assignment that you're ready in February to come back with some of your ideas about the event theme and the parade sub-theme. And as you know, last year, the event theme was "This is my Wildwood." And then the sub-theme for the parade was Wildwood, City of Parks and Trails. And in that gray area, next year will be our 30th anniversary, which will make things probably a little easier for a group of commission members to kind of pick on a theme. But this year, as I say, we're kind of a year before that. And I think we had a nice theme and sub-theme last year. Certainly people understood what "This is my Wildwood." At least I did. So you can start tonight, or if you want a month's time and think it over and then come back with some thoughts. If you take the month between now and our next meeting, I would ask that maybe that few days, maybe a week before the meeting, if you have some thoughts, if you could email them to Stacy, and we can put a consolidated list together. Have that as part of it. So you can see what everybody else is thinking, and we can kind of hit the ground running for discussion. Thank you.
It would be helpful to see what the past themes have been. So
I think I would
Have
love to take
something-
the assignment. That feels like I would love to think about it. And if we could get a list of that, I think that would help with the.
it feels like the underlying theme here is growth. I mean, city, the new construction, the village green. So thinking about the word growth or growing or highlighting new businesses or as part of, I don't know, I'm just spitballing, but growth seems to be a pretty big.
I like that too, because it's got good nature components too, because I think of my plants that are not growing. Grow is still the word. And I love the idea of growing economically, but also growing in.
Growing community.
Well, if it's 30 years, you can always do a theme of where we were and where we're at.
Mhm.
That's a lot.
Are we gonna have any celebration
next year.
geared towards the anniversary?
Oh,
Are we gonna have anything geared towards the anniversary for this celebration?
It's something the commission, you could do that kind of a preface to the 30th. That's a thought. Really, as I say, the theme development, the sub-theme has always kind of resided in the commission. We will get you past themes and sub-themes, so you can kind of see what we've done in the past. Some are pretty clever, as I recall.
Everybody celebrates 30. We could just make 29 be the big one.
Or 29, 29 and holding. That's what I like, 29 and holding or something.
I love the idea of something growth, and then just know now that this is what I'm gonna try and convince you all between now and the end. A future themed parade, we could all be spaceships.
No.
The future of Wildwood, I'm just saying.
No.
Okay, it sounds silly now, but in a couple months, you guys are gonna think it's a good idea.
You could- yeah, you could
Back
say
to the
something like,
future.
Envision Wildwood. in the year
Planting seeds for the
20,
future.
Yeah,
know,
where we've been, where we're growing.
21.
Growing.
I'm way ahead.
Here's it, yeah.
Yeah,
When we do
Okay,
30.
yeah,
See, you're already starting to bite.
yeah,
alright.
21, 24, that would be cool to see what they.
So we'll have something too on the past theme and
That would be
sub-themes,
helpful.
probably beginning of next week. That's okay.
Okay.
What was your favorite theme thus far?
That's a good question. That's a very good question.
This room did pick one of them, so choose carefully.
Over all the years, what's been your favorite theme?
You have to think about that. And part of it is I don't remember the.
I don't either.
Quite frankly. And when we had the art festival in conjunction with Celebrate Wildwood, it offered a little bit more.
Mm.
There were a couple of times I think we. Art component.
Creativity, something.
So. If you see one that's highlighted and bolded. it's the
That's
one
your
we-
favorite. Alright, good to know.
Put it in your email, all of you, I want all of your favorites.
So if there's no objection, your assignment
Yep.
is to kind of think about a theme and sub-theme. Obviously, we've got some ideas already out there to kind of foster some thoughts, but. And again, if you do approximately a week before, email what you're thinking and then we'll get it in a single list. And we'll provide that as part of the packet. And we'll go from there.
Thank you.
That's a good idea, if we got a little bit of time.
Update on activities and commitments and actions. Last time I saw this grid, it was like all complete. It's the last event.
Now look, it's at the very beginning.
Here we go again.
Well, our biggest one obviously is the event location that is still to be determined. But kind of does affect the things down the line and what we're doing. We're trying to contact as many vendors as we can, just kind of leaving it open on the location, maybe a different spot. So, but the important things, fireworks, contract in progress. So we were all, I believe, really happy with last year's company.
Right.
So that is who we contacted again this year. Waste services, Gateway has been sent the event schedule now, so they have the event on their schedule. Volunteers obviously haven't started anything like that. Sponsorship goal has been set, so we're good on that. Same thing kind of with bistro lighting, got to figure out where we're at. See if we can do that. And of course, we have wonderful police services under these two gentlemen, so don't worry about that. The date obviously been set. We got our big ones contacted. So we have our electric and our portable restrooms and our stage, things like that. So they have been contacted. We like, obviously staying with the same people. We trust them. They always do a great job for us, so we're good to go. We do have the daytime band booked, and in progress on that contract, Wild Horse Creek Band. They were here in 2022, and we had a lot of good feedback from them, and they're back on, so they're really excited about participating. Same thing with Julie Lynch, who sang the national anthem. She is excited. It's a good one.
The band, I think it was the last Music on Main. They were a younger group.
Luster Lights.
Love them. That's my favorite.
What
You
was
don't have
it
to get them
called?
just for me, but
Luster Lights.
I never get up and dance with all the very outgoing people in the front, but I was out there. Me and my little nephew, we had a ball with them. So
good.
that's my 2 cents.
Okay. We're still on the headliner. So that one we're still working out. Parade items.
Just as a sidebar, we started looking at bands almost a day after the celebration. And it's amazing how far advanced they're booked.
Good for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's great from their perspective, but you know, we were
hard on
looking for, we were looking for those bands that we know just people like,
Uh-huh.
that are kind of new and fresh and booked,
Good for them.
booked, yeah.
And we work a lot with certain booking
Oh, yeah.
groups and, you know, we know we're gonna get good, you know, bands and it's kind of scary to go out and do somebody brand new, especially for something like this, the big one. Yeah, it's been a little bit of a struggle, like they have already been booked by the time we're looking at it.
They
So,
work it hard at being booked up because they know they have their stream of money coming in.
Well, Lester Lights 2025.
So what we've done too is those that like Luster Lights and that, we've done a couple of other bands, we're the secondary. So if the primary contract cancels, we're at least next in line to be offered their services. So
Nice.
we're trying to cover all the bases right now until we nail down the band and provide it to you for the comments.
The parade items, we, you know, still like to be over at Schnucks Wildwood Crossing. It seems to work well for us and route and everything. Haven't really started too much, except Officer DeGelder has contacted Principia. And he's hoping to have an answer next week, for that Principia school band cheerleaders who did a great job.
They're
Yeah,
so
they
fun.
did
We were
it.
able
Shout out
to handle
to
their-
Officer DeGelder, good job.
We've kind of talked about the theme and all that, so don't really have anything completed yet on the parade. Food and drink items, same kind of thing. Haven't really started yet on that. Concert items, interpreters, got them on the schedule. Bands we're in the middle of. Finch Audio contacted him as well, and we're putting together that contract. Staging, and then we have contacted some of the entertainment items. So we are on Juggling Jeff and the Clowns. Upper Limits, we've contacted Jolly Jumps. Since we gotta kind of figure out where we're gonna be, we've had to save the date with them because we gotta figure out where we're gonna fit what we got. So sponsorships, booth items, same kind of thing. Haven't really started too much yet on that, but that will be coming very quickly. And marketing, we haven't really started too much there, just kind of thought ahead and we'll be, I'm sure, meeting with West News Magazine sooner than late because we start with them fairly early. So we're feeling pretty good. Even though it doesn't look like it on paper, our big major items, we feel like we're getting. So. Kind of fall into place as the months go on.
Thinking about, we've said parade a couple of times. Could we add to either February's agenda or March's agenda, just a moment to have like a strategic conversation about day of parade operations? Just to, we all live through it, and I think that there are a couple things that I think could help make the like lining up a little bit easier. And I don't know that I would just love to have a conversation about it, just because that day can be a little hectic for you guys and just maybe setting ourselves up for success on the front end might be better.
Sure.
So just like a group think on that, I think would be really helpful.
We also have a, we did what can we improve on? And so we have notes on that also.
Awesome, great. I mean, I think it was great. It happened. The parade was awesome. I found my spot. I think everyone found their spot, but just in the spirit of growth. Just a way to also, poor, Tom Lee was running around with a single piece of paper and I was like, you are sweating. It's 9 a.m., sir. Like, just to help alleviate some of that stress on the city as well. Just thinking of it. Awesome. Thanks for adding that. I appreciate it. Okay. Last, other considerations.
What if we did something kind of old timey, like a pie eating contest or something like that, where people entered and did something like that, with that, you know, something kind of,
Hot dog eating kind.
yeah, like, you know, where it's just kind of a fun thing.
We used to have the wing eating contest at the barbecue thing.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
I love the idea of filling some of those like spaces in between the bands with some programming. Like, I think that would be really, really fun. And also I would love to see like, even just some opportunities for some of like our community stuff to take place. So I think about, we have 3 really awesome yoga studios here, like the idea of like doing like a family yoga from the stage, 30 minutes, go out if you want, be silly, being able to highlight. We have like an incredible wellness area that's in Wildwood now, like over there by the CrossFit, like there's obviously J&J Health. I feel like that's like becoming part of our community, is that we're just we're a healthy group, apparently, not me, but the rest of you. So I don't know, I would just love to maybe have a conversation too about places that we could add some programming that
So
highlights.
first pie eating and then yoga.
And then yoga. And also like, I just think about like, there's such great like bakeries, like, or like the sweet treats and stuff. She does pies, by the way. She has a really great key lime pie. Just, you know, how can we engage with some of our businesses too? Cause I think that's my favorite part about going to Celebrate Wildwood, is that it feels so Wildwood centric. Like I've gone to like 4th of July in Kirkwood, and like, it's not Kirkwood. It's just everyone that paid to be there, which is great. But the thing I love about Celebrate Wildwood is it feels like we are truly celebrating Wildwood. It feels like the businesses are primarily Wildwood. It feels like the people who are there are residents. I love that. And I think that.
Yeah, but maybe there's a way to get the residents involved more, like,
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
or maybe we do like baking cuts.
oh,
You know, something like that, where we blue ribbon
Yeah,
and that comes back next year to be so-and-so, cause they won the
Oh,
blue
yeah.
ribbon pie. You know, make it more like old town homey.
I love that.
might be-
Yeah. That's probably not COVID friendly.
Can't do that anymore.
if you-
Old back in.
Shopping bag.
Bring your own bucket.
I don't know, it's kind of, you know, we're not that old of a city. I mean, we're only, 28 years old now about, so it's not like we would be going back to 1995, but Wildwood's history goes way back. So it's like you could
Look for
you
you.
could look at, you know, having
Yeah.
a 1920s theme, or
Yeah.
it wasn't called Wildwood then, but you know, you had the different communities. You know, Wildwood, especially, there's some of this written about, there's great history in Grover, right by where the post office is. I think it used to be called Tunks Grove or something like that. And that was kind of like the gathering place. They had, you know, I think a ball field or, you know, they would hold these like events where people would have these picnics
Yeah,
and gatherings. I don't know, you know, but there's pictures of them. So I think that you're onto something where maybe you do have a little bit of a nostalgic, maybe that's a conversation we asked the Wildwood Historical Society, they probably have ideas. But you could tie into stuff like that, and I think you're right, you know, we'd look at what's good to do in 2023, like,
right.
you know, we want people, if they choke on wings.
What's the
I don't know.
COI on that? But yeah.
We might need to look at, you know, what's good to do, but you have, maybe there is a little bit more of a schedule of events. And we did kind of, we have the schedule.
Yeah,
Because at one point we even had the Boy Scouts, and they would do demonstrations.
Yeah.
During the day, like axe throwing and stuff like that. So, you know, I think what you're saying makes sense, like maybe there is some kind of like, you know, pie eating contest, or,
programming.
you know, maybe the Wildwood Police would do a little self-defense demonstration.
Yeah,
or
there you go, or the
something.
canine unit.
Hey, there he's already volunteered.
Yeah.
That's it.
I
that's
heard
it.
about Sergeant DeClerc. I saw that.
You know, demonstrate the taser.
Yeah, or even like, I mean, you know, we have a martial arts studio in our mix, like just having them do a demonstration, have the kiddos come out, the parents.
About having Stovall's come and do line
A
dance.
line
Oh,
dance,
that would be
that would be
so
so
fun.
Oh,
cool.
God, I would think that'd be a blast out
That
there.
would be so fun.
So there's a lot of, I think
Yeah.
we've got a lot of ideas now flowing, and we don't wanna lose them, but hopefully that's where, let's remember that, and maybe that's where we can kind of take that and have this nostalgic kind of old town type of, you know, country fair or whatever you want to
Yeah.
call it, that has those elements in there.
I love that.
Possible.
That's what I was really. We're really vibing now. We're really flowing.
Additionally, about 4 o'clock in the afternoon to about 6. Things really calm down on the revenue. So maybe there's an opportunity to do some of that also to start and promote it, come back at 4 or whatever the time frame. So as we can maybe get that lull, have that lull be less than it is and has been in the past, so to speak.
Well, maybe we do a couple pie eating rounds and then the finals are at 4 o'clock.
So I could see some ideas. in
I like
from
that.
that.
Even if it was like three-legged race with, family things.
Yeah,
It's
just like a-
just family fun.
Square dancing.
I like that a
I
lot.
used to know how to do that too.
Good, we get to underwrite on pies.
Truly.
Well, we get one sponsor that's a bakery and then instead of money, they give us pies.
If it's not a bakery, Silver Spoons, the ice cream place, you can.
And
have
she
it.
does pie. Silverstone's does seasonal pies, key lime pie. When she
Where's
posts
an ice cream eating contest?
on social media this next spring,
Freeze
get a key lime pie. Change your life. Better than Tippins. I know that's a hot take.
Well, I'm like Nothing But Cakes was a sponsor. They did.
Do you guys have?
Put your thoughts down and pull together a little bit more. We can have a real early draft of the schedule. See how it fits.
Or, get the mayor in a dunking booth.
That would be fun, have a dunking tank.
I was gonna say that, we did talk about it 1 or 2 years ago, but.
Suddenly it
some
feels
people,
less.
Suddenly it was not as popular, so.
I feel like if we commit to the mayor doing that now, then September, the September mayor's stuck
We
with
could do the
whatever
whole
we
council,
decide.
And then we can see who raised the
Okay,
most
well, I don't
money.
know about that one,
Oh,
but.
yeah, I think there was talk of like, collecting money or using it as a fundraiser or something like that.
I would pay
Saturday.
$5 for a bucket of balls. I could.
See who gets the most money.
Yeah.
That's the thing. You
At
could
the
have
time,
the dunking
you know,
champion by who
I
gets
don't
the
wanna win
most
that
money.
I think that was the idea. I think that At the time, we would have had certain council members.
I'll say,
that
the
probably
council is
would've racked
pretty
up a lot.
competitive.
One year in Boy Scouts, what we did with the leaders was we had everybody bought tickets and then you put the ticket in a bucket of the person and then that person got a pie in the face.
Oh, my.
So.
Write these down. Great. Memorial program, I just read that last little memorandum.
Okay, so we had discussed the memorial program last back at the January 2023 meeting. And we had kind of decided, we thought we would like to do something to honor the past grand marshals of the parade. And the Village Green might be a good spot for that. So we had discussed the possible components would be the criteria for selection. And the commission noted at that time, it would be the previous grand marshals of the parade from the previous years. And the location for the display would be at the new Village Green. So we had kind of talked about the stage and pavilion area would accommodate something like this for that. And it would be a nice permanent location to display the names as part of the memorial program. So we kind of talked about offering pavers for this purpose. And it would be awarded, wouldn't be anything paid, it would be awarded to those previous grand marshals. So we had talked about that, and does the commission think about this? Would we like to look into it? Go further on this idea?
It's a good idea.
I love the idea of papers. My only question would be, would it be a paver per year or paver per individual?
Yeah, we had talked about a paver.
Right,
Yeah.
that was gonna be my suggestion, but you guys, of course, are so on it. Just thinking about all of our folks last year.
So from the perspective of the commission members, we kind of put it on the back burner last year. You'd like it, if you'd like us to bring it forward and kind of start developing it now that the Village Green is getting closer to reality.
Okay, I just have a suggestion. So why don't we, as a sponsorship, sell pavers
just thinking-
and be a Wildwood.
Yeah.
You know, donate $50 and your family name will be on a paver at the new one. Like I did win the blues one. I'm sure somebody peed on it, but around the stadium down there. Around there, it's not a very nice area now, but yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that, maybe that's a real good idea, right, to look at, because Village Green. is so
I'll say.
I think you'd be surprised how many people would do it.
Yeah,
Well, it's the same thing as we have the memorial bench program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But maybe this is a little more.
I mean, this, that, you could do it in memory of someone, but you could just do it for your family, you know? As a founding member of Wildwood, I don't know, I've been here for, you know, I'm sure you've
like
been
that
here,
would
so a
be
lot of us,
great.
so.
Like a great.
It'd be a
realtor
fun
present,
thing, it'd
like,
be a good
I got
sponsorship
a
to raise
bunch of
money
local
here,
favor that night.
Add to the list.
yeah, so.
There's no objection.
Yeah. Thank you for.
Again, for the
looking into
Grand
that.
Marshal perspective, we were not going to charge them.
Correct.
It was
Yeah, yeah.
another-
Oh, I understand that,
Yeah.
but that's only a few, I think I think a lot of people do it.
We'll add it to the list.
Alright, our next meeting is Thursday, the 1st of February. 6 p.m.
I have a comment question.
Yes,
Did you ever find out, did Pond ever tell us how much we made on the beer?
I've been, trying to contact. I'll have an update for you.
I just was curious because I just kind of, you know, I thought the way they hemmed and hawed about it, I'm just wondering.
Hemmed and hawed a lot, but ultimately they agreed to it, so. We'll have an update for you in February.
I just was wondering. It might make a difference on who you use, you know, do as
Yeah.
your sponsorship next year, so.
Getting.
Well, I mean, not that, but the people that work it, because there's other
Yeah.
organizations that would probably like to, the beer garden.
And who did it? Within-
Pond Association.
anything else before we call for an adjournment?
Gave us a-
All right, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
second.
All in favor, say aye.